morning, children. Today we are going to begin with a new chapter, that is physical and chemical changes. Now, what are changes? It is the law of nature which occurs in our everyday life. Okay? And substances or matter, they always undergo a change, either a physical state or in a chemical state when it is subjected to any energy changes. So all these changes, they take place in the matter or in the substance, and they can be classified under physical and chemical changes. Okay. So before we study about physical and chemical changes, we need to know what are physical and chemical properties. So all the matter, they show some changes in them. Why? Because of the presence of certain properties in them. What are those properties? The properties that are present in them are the physical properties, or they have the chemical properties, and they also have chemical properties. Okay, so let us first understand what are physical properties. The properties that are associated with the physical change, which can be determined by any physical observation, they are termed as physical properties. I repeat, the properties associated with a physical change which can be determined by physical observations, like for example melting point, okay, like for example boiling point, or maybe density, or maybe color, or solubility. Okay, all these are what? These are the physical properties. If we talk about odor, we talk about thermal and electrical conductivity So what are all these? These are all physical properties, right? So if we are going to talk about physical change, we are going to see only the change in these physical properties, right? There should not be any chemical properties that we should study in the physical change. Properties that are associated with the chemical change, which can be determined by chemical reactions, they are termed as chemical properties. So they can be the action of, you may say, the reaction with air, with oxygen that we study, with water we study, with the acids we study, with the alkalis we study, with the acids I've already written, with the oxidizing agents we study, with the reducing agents we study. So all the reactions that we study that brings about chemical change, they are all presented by chemical properties, and they all exhibit what? Chemical change. Whereas if we check the physical properties and there is any change due to physical properties only, then they will exhibit physical change. I hope this is very clear to you. Now we come to our changes. Now in your previous class you must have studied about different types of changes. Broadly, the changes are divided into two. What are they? They are only your physical changes and chemical changes. Okay, chemical changes. But in your previous class you must have studied about other changes also. In class 8 you are going to study only about physical and chemical changes, but just a review of what you have studied earlier. Like you must have studied about reversible and irreversible changes. So what are reversible changes? Which can be reversed by changing the conditions, like for example melting of ice and freezing of water, that is a reversible change. Then irreversible changes, which cannot be reversed by change in the conditions, like if I burn magnesium in the air, then it is not going to come back into magnesium form. So that is your irreversible change. Similarly, fast and slow changes also you must have learnt. Like for example, for slow changes, occurrence of days and years example, right? So that is your slow change. Like a seed is growing into a tree, it takes years and years, so that is a slow change. Whereas fast change, which happens very fast, very rapid, in seconds, maybe occurrence of thunder and lightning, that could be a fast change. Okay, then you must have also studied about periodic and non-periodic changes. Now what are periodic changes? That occur at a regular interval of time, like change of seasons, like change of your periods, your class periods. Okay, then non-periodic changes that do not occur periodically at regular intervals, like change of weather. Weather can change today, weather can change after a few days, weather can change tomorrow in the morning, today in the evening. It can change anytime. So that is non-periodic. And then desirable and undesirable changes. What are desirable changes? Where useful results are brought about by man or by nature. Like for example, making of a glass, that is a desirable change because human beings want it, so it was made, therefore it is a desirable change. Whereas undesirable changes, they are those changes which are useless results, they are brought about by man or nature. Okay, like for example, breaking of the glass, that could be your undesirable change which produces useless results, right? They are called as undesirable changes. So this was just a review of various types of changes that you had studied earlier. But broadly, all these changes have been classified here into just two types of changes. What are they? Your physical change and your chemical change. So in this class, we are going to study only these two types of changes. So let us come to today first with the physical change. What is a physical change? It is a temporary change. What did I say? It is a temporary change, okay, where no new substance is formed. No new substance is formed. Okay, let me write down in points. Let's begin with physical changes. So what are physical changes? They are temporary changes. Okay, they are temporary changes. Okay, what else? Where no new substance is formed. No new substance is formed. This is the second point you should be knowing, right? And the third point, it can be reversed. Can be reversed. It is a reversible it can be reversed, that it is a reversible change, and it shows this reversible change takes place by very simple physical means. Is this point clear? Then next point, no energy change takes place over here. No energy change takes place over here, right? There is no change in mass, no change in mass. Only what change we observe? Only change in the physical properties observed. Only change in physical property is observed. Okay, so these are some of the properties, or you may say the characteristics of a physical change. Let's understand what is a physical change. It is a temporary change in which no new substance is formed and it can be reversed by simple physical means, right? So what are those characteristics? Like for example, physical changes, they show temporary changes. Then no new substance is formed, it can be reversed, no energy change takes place, no change in the mass takes place. Only what change do we observe? We only see the change in the physical properties. Clear? So let us now talk about certain examples. You already must be knowing about so many examples, like if you switch on an electric bulb. Switching on of the electric bulb. What will you observe? If before switching the bulb you touch, it is cold. But when you switch on the bulb, after a while, what has happened? It is giving you light. Okay, when you touch, it is hot. Now you switch it off, again the light goes off. Now you touch, it is hot. After some time, again if you will touch, it becomes cold. So what was the change? There was only change in its hotness and coldness. Light was given, light was taken away. No change took place. It was a temporary change. No new substance was formed. It was reversible. No energy change had taken place. There was no change in the mass. Only what was there? There was change in a physical property. What was that physical property? Hotness and coldness. That was there. So it is a physical change, right? Then another example could be boiling of water, right? Boiling of water. When you boil water, what do? We put a lid over it. So the water, when starts boiling, condenses and back into the liquid state. It was temporary when it was boiling into vapor form. When you condensed, again it went back into the water form. So no new substance. It was reversible. No energy change had taken place. There was no change in the mass. Only there was change in the physical state. What was the change in the physical state? It changed from liquid to gaseous form and then back from gaseous form to the liquid state. Clear? Then another example could be like dissolution of sugar in water. I'll write over here, dissolution of sugar in water. When you dissolve sugar in water, it will dissolve and form a sweet water, what you say. And then when you heat, then on crystallization of the sugar solution, the sugar will be recovered back in the original crystalline form, and therefore we can say that no new substance is formed. It was temporary and no change in the mass had taken place, and therefore it was only a physical change, right? And it also did not show any energy change. So this can also be considered as your physical change. Another example could be magnetization. Magnetization of say iron. You take an iron bar and coil it and coil a wire over it and pass current. What happens to that magnet bar? It becomes magnetized, right? And now when it has magnetized, you bring several pins near it. It will attract all the pins. All right. But when that wire is removed, the magnetization is removed as well. In other words, we can say it gets demagnetized and all the iron nails will fall away. So what happened? It was just a temporary change till you were passing current through it. It had magnetized. As soon as you stopped passing current, it got demagnetized. No new substance was formed. It was reversible. No change in the mass took place. No energy change took place. Correct? So this can also be termed as your physical change. Then breathing in humans. What are you breathing in? You're breathing in oxygen, you're giving out carbon dioxide. You're breathing in oxygen and you're giving out carbon dioxide. So this is also your physical change. Another example could be like cutting of the fruits. When you cut the fruit, only what has happened from say from a big piece, you have made it into a small piece, that's all, but the piece remains the same. It is again no new substance is formed over here. Yes, it is not reversible, that is you cannot form back into a big fruit, but no new substance is formed. Is that clear? If a banana is cut into pieces, it remains banana, right? It does not become an orange. Clear? So it is your physical change only. Is that clear? Don't think that miss now we cannot stick all those pieces to get back a big banana and therefore it cannot be a temporary change. No, no new substance is formed there. So it is your physical change here, right? Another example could be if you break a glass tumbler. Now what has happened to the glass tumbler? It has turned into small pieces. Now when you had thrown it on the floor, those small pieces did not become sand. What happened? Only the shape has changed. Rest it remained as a glass, but in different form. Shape has only changed. Only the physical property has changed. Therefore, this breaking of the glass is also your physical change. I hope this is very clear to all of you. Then another example could be freezing of water. Take water and keep it in the refrigerator. What happens? It changes into ice. Then take it out, keep it in outside hot weather. It again changes into melts and changes into water. Again keep it in the refrigerator. So what is it? It is showing you physical change. Some more examples could be like melting of wax, melting of your butter, then ringing of electric bulb, or sublimation. Sublimation is what? The solid changing directly into gaseous state, and then they again change back into the solid state. Okay, so that is sublimation. Then evaporation of water. So all these are what? Your physical changes. I hope physical change is very clear to you with so many examples. Now I move to chemical changes. We shall now talk about chemical change. Chemical changes. Okay, what are chemical changes? Just the opposite of your physical change. That is, it is a permanent change. It is a permanent change. Okay, then new substances are formed. New substances formed. Okay, then what? Mass changes. Mass change takes place over here, right? What else? There is a reversible. It is non-reversible. It is non-reversible reaction. Physical changes was reversible. These are non-reversible changes. There is either gain or loss of energy. Either gain or loss of energy takes place over here, right? And then so if you have to define what is a chemical change, how will you define a chemical change? A chemical change is a permanent change in which the original substance gives rise to new substance formed with entirely different properties, different composition, right? It is non-reversible or irreversible, and energy, either gain or loss of energy has taken place. So this is termed as chemical change, and these are certain properties over here, or the characteristics of a chemical change. So let us understand certain chemical changes with the examples. So generally over here we are going to see most of the reactions taking place. But to start off with, let us begin with the burning of paper. Now suppose if you burn off your chemistry paper, what will happen? Will you get back your matter? No. What it is going to change into? Burning of paper, it is going to change into ash. Now from that ash, that black soot, you cannot get back your paper or the material. So it is your chemical change where it has a permanent change, new substance. From that paper you have got an ash. Okay, it is non-reversible. Some energy change has taken place over here. I hope that's clear. Then another example, you all must be knowing it very well. Rusting of iron. It is always your chemical change. If you take the rust, if you take an iron and keep it in the air for a longer time, what will you see? Due to the presence of moisture in the air, it forms a reddish brown coat over it. And what is that called as? Rust, right? And once the rust is formed, it is a permanent change. You cannot remove that rust from the iron. Therefore it is your chemical change. Then ripening of the fruits. Once the fruit gets ripened, you cannot get back the fresh fruit. Okay, your butter turning rancid, it is your what you say, a chemical change. Then more examples could be respiration in human beings. Now what is respiration? It is the oxidation taking place. The air that you take in oxidizes the food, and that gives out energy. Clear? This is very different from breathing. Breathing is your physical change, but respiration is your chemical change, because from respiration you are taking in oxygen, which is oxidizing your food, and it is releasing energy. So it is a different substance. A permanent change has taken place, new substance has been formed, some energy gain or loss of energy takes place, and therefore it is your chemical change. I hope this is very clear to you. Then cooking of your vegetables, that is also your chemical change. Now for example, you take a raw potato, okay, raw potato and a boiled potato, the properties are entirely different, and from that boiled potato you cannot get back your raw potato. So that is again your chemical change. Okay, what about the germination of seed? Once the seed has germinated, it cannot go back into its small seedling. So that is again your chemical change. What about the growth in human beings? Now you cannot become class 1 student anymore, isn't it? So your growth is also your chemical change. Is that clear? Then what more do you want to know? Then magnesium, when it is heated in the presence of oxygen, what is it going to give you? It is going to give you white ash. It is going to give us white ash. So magnesium, it is a ribbon. If in the presence of oxygen, it is giving you an ash. So this is, from this you cannot get back your magnesium. So this is again your chemical change. Another example, your milk turning into curd. From curd, can you get back your milk? No, not possible. So that is again your chemical change. So I hope with so many examples, it's very clear the difference between what is a chemical change and what is a physical change, right? Now let us look at the difference between the physical and the chemical changes. Physical change, it is a temporary change, and then chemical change, it is a permanent change. Physical change, no new substance is formed. Chemical change, new substances with different properties are produced. Then physical change, there is no absorption of or evolution of energy, whereas in chemical change, energy is always either evolved or absorbed. Then in physical change, there is no change in mass, whereas in chemical change, masses of the substances, they keep changing. However, total mass remains unchanged, because we know law of conservation of mass. The mass of the reactant should always be equal to the mass of the product. So we balance the equations. Then the physical properties of a substance change, but its composition does not change in a physical change. Whereas in a chemical change, there is a change in physical properties, as well as there is change in the chemical properties as well, right? With this, we finish off with our chapter. Thank you.